Hello, everybody. Good morning. So let us continue with our course on scientific foundations of health. And as you know, the message of this course is very simple. Why living a healthy lifestyle is so important, and then how that we can achieve that good health and well-being. Although we have been told since our childhood that health is wealth, for various reasons and different causes, people may not maintain their health very well. And the whole message and the whole insistence of this particular course is about to bring about into your attention that health is very important and it is possible to achieve that health. The last two sessions actually we have conducted the module 1 and module 2. We have covered certain things already. So let me revise the things that I have covered and set up a context for the module 3. In the module 1, we discussed about importance of health, its benefits and good practices and dangers of bad habits on health. For example, smoking, drinking, or not taking food enough on right time, which will cause. So we just stress that health is very important. It is actually, and if you can take care of your practices and habits, probably you can maintain a very healthy life. Then in the second module, we talked that how do I get that health? And one of the royal way to get that health is actually is through food. So food is the essentially about one which actually builds your body and maintains your body. And food consumption is actually one of the determinant of somebody's health. Okay. So when we talk about food, it is not any food. It is a food which has some kind of a purpose in the context of your health. Those food items which have actually have some contents towards building your health or building your body or maintaining health, they are called nutrients. And the right nutrients and right quantities and right proportion should be taken, and that is called nutrition. So nutrition is all about identifying the items that your body needs and getting them through your food. While nutrition is a good thing, there are occasions where actually you may not be able to control your nutrition, and that may lead to a problem called food disorders. And before that, there are challenges like malnutrition, where you don't eat the quantities that you need in right proportions. Maybe you will eat something more than what you need. It's called overnutrition. And there are occasions actually undernutrition, where you are not eating the items you need at all. So once that has to be taken care, and that was the stress of the second module. And we also talked about some kind of a disorder. Some people can't control how much they eat. They also many attempts at keep eating irrespective of whether the body needs or not. That also we have covered. And these were actually at the personal level. Now we are getting into module number 3, where we will consider the social element and its impact on our health. What we mean by social element is very simple. See, unlike trees and animals, humans are called social animals. That means they have their families, they build their communities, they actually have a society and all. Now, this external element has a serious impact on somebody's health, and that is exactly what we are going to consider. The fact that humans are social animals becomes real because we can speak. Using the language, we are either we communicate with other persons or actually develop that relationship. So the quality of these communications and also the kind of relation that we develop that actually will decide and has a huge impact on our health. And that is exactly is the content of this particular chapter. So in the module 3, we are going to cover the creation of healthy and caring relationships in our personal and social life. Okay. What are we doing? Humans are social animals. That means we have families, we have community, we have created groups. Okay. Whether it's a WhatsApp group or it's a community group. Okay, that one. So because this happens because humans can speak leading to communication and relationship. You can't expect this in an animal or a plant because they can't speak. So since they can't speak, they cannot communicate, and since they cannot communicate, they cannot establish a relationship. So the language gives you an ability to communicate. The process and the quality of communication and relationship has a huge impact on our health. Okay. In a changing world, new communication demands with the diverse communities and relationships with family, neighbors, and classmates, colleagues has telling effect on overall health. For example, now that world is becoming smaller, which is a network world. So it is not the normal communication do you with your friends or your colleagues. Okay, you may have to deal with, do communication with people of diverse origin. Assume that you join a company where you are part of a team where two people are not from your country or they are not from your language and all. That diversity will actually add. And secondly, the relationship, for example, the boss employee relationship, or if you're part of a team where actually you have to follow the leadership and other things will also help pose a lot of challenge and you have to overcome that. So essentially, The social element actually gives rise to communication, and that builds to relationship. Now, this new kind of communication that you have to learn, master them, and be successful in that. Similarly, you may have to establish new kind of a relationship and harness those relationships both for personal and professional requirement. So in this chapter, we are talking about creation of healthy and caring relationships. Building communication skills like listening and speaking with friends and friendships, that is very important. Education, the value of relationship and communication, a relationship for a better or worsening world. See, when you come to education, it's an institution where you have your classmates, faculty, other elements. Now, building a very professional relationship, for example, you may have a classmate actually you are working with as a project member, or you may be a part of a team actually which is working towards particular product. So now these are a new relationship that you should be developing. And when we say education and the role of relationship in education, that's what we mean. Understanding the basic instincts of life more than biology, and changing the health behaviors through social engineering. Social talking about is building communication. So we all know that communication at its essence. That means communication is the one which distinguishes animals from people, because people can communicate, they can express their emotions, they can share their ideas, they can communicate their theories with others. Communication is the art of transforming information, ideas, and attitudes from one person to another person. So this is exactly what the communication is all about. What does it mean? You are trying to convey your information that you have, the idea that you have developed, or attributes that you have with you. Communication is the process of meaningful interaction among human beings. While communication can happen between any person with or without reason, when we talk about professional context, communication is the process of meaningful interaction. That means you have something to achieve, you have something to convey, which has some purpose and some value within that among human beings. It could be another classmate, or it could be a neighbor, or it could be a colleague. And it's a personal process. A person is actively involved in this, and it can occur between people. That means it can be between two people or a group of people. For example, when a national leader is speaking to a great gathering of millions of people, that is also communication. It is one to many. When you're talking to one of your classmates, it is one to one, or it could be one to five, or something like that. Okay, so communication is an essential process, because that is where actually you start to share your ideas or attitude towards others. And what is the purpose of communication? It involves a change in behavior. That means you communicate to something to somebody with an intention either to change him, or to change yourself, or change the problem, perception, or actually a solution. That means it has an intention which normally should lead into some kind of a change behavior. Means to influence others. For example, if you are a political leader or a marketing manager, then you try to influence your customer to go for that particular product. Or if you are a political leader, then probably you try to influence the voters towards a particular party. Or if you are a captain of a team, then you are communicating with your players to encourage them and towards a better performance. The expression of thoughts and emotions through words and actions. It could be a body language, or it could be a verbal language. So communication happen either through actions or through words. And it is a tool for controlling and motivating people. For example, a leader will use language or communication to control his team. Okay. Similarly, a parents or somebody, a coach, will be using this language to motivate his players, or maybe parents are using this to motivate the kids, or faculty or teachers are using language for the motivating the people. So one of the intention of making communication is very simple. It is changing the behavior. For example, you will learn something and use that. That's the one that can change in behavior. Or you have a particular perception about something which is not real. That can be changed. Or you have preference for certain things which can be changed with a proper communication and dialogue. So that is the whole idea of communication. And now let us look how actually the communication process works. The communication involves two people. One is called sender, where the idea or the attitude or the information is originated. Then that is converted into, excuse me, a message, and message is sent to a receiver. That means now he is encoding. So encoding essentially means putting into words and in a particular language. Okay. That message will go some means. For example, you can talk, you can write a letter, you can send a WhatsApp message, whatnot. Okay. and that is decoded by the other person. Because suppose you write a message, say in a local language or in English, the intended recipient should also know that language. The ability of that person to understand your message is called decoding. Okay, then he will understand and give you a feedback. That, for example, assume that you are asking for some help for of your classmate. Actually, now he will use that one. Okay, so he will actually say either yes or no. So whatever that yes or no he says is actually is the feedback that you are getting. So essentially, a sender have a message to share. Okay, and that message could be either an idea or an information, or it could be a question, or it could be an answer that is coded into a language, and it will go to the destination called receiver. The receiver could be one of many. For example, if a teacher is teaching 60 students, then receivers are 60. Similarly, if it is a group discussion, then everybody is receiver and everybody is communicator. So this is exactly is the communication process. So any question at this point of time? I'm wait for a minute. Okay, but let me summarize before that. So communication is one of the essential things of human beings or anybody who knows language, and this communication process has a huge impact on our health process. Okay, so creating a healthy communication is essential, and communication is all about sending message, which could mean information, which could mean idea, which could mean the solution, or it could mean attitude. And it always involves two people, somebody who sends a message, who converts that message into a particular language. It could be a sign language, or it could be an oral language, or it's like a speaking language. And now the receiver, after receive, either he acknowledges, that's also feedback, or you will ask for further details, that's also a feedback. So to be very successful, then you need certain skills. Any activity of humans, actually it needs skill, because you have to be effective and efficient. Okay. So let us understand what are the different components of a communication skill system. So there is a sender, the person who conceptualized the idea and wants to deliver it to the recipient. For example, Einstein thought of theory of relativity, that he is the sender. He is sending a message. That means what he says is this is the way actually the world is organized. This is the theory which will explain many things. So that's called a sender. Then encoding, the way information described or translated into a message. It could be a diagram, it could be a message, or it could be an instruction. Message is actually the content. For example, if you write a letter, what is there on the letter is actually is the content, message, the idea, fact, opinion that we want to send it to communicate to the other person. Communication channel. Communication channel would mean if you use a phone, that's one channel. If you use a WhatsApp, is another channel. If you speak to person face to face, that's another channel. So there are different ways in actually it can be done, and each one of them is called a channel. Noise or distraction. No matter how you intend to send your message, there are some elements which will create either a doubt, which are not very clear, and that which actually dilutes your communication is called noise or distraction. Then receiver is the target audience of the message. That means who will eventually receive your message. I told it could be one or many. Decoding, the opposite act of coding, and feedback. And this exactly is compacted here actually. Now there is a sender, there is encoding, there is a language, the message, and the decoding, and finally the receiver. So next question is, why do we need to communicate? The reason why do we need to communicate is very simple. We want to inform. So when you go to a school or a college, the whole intention of education is to inform you about whatever the development, whatever the achievements, whatever the instruction that is to be given. Okay. So first job or a first goal of is actually you are providing information used in the decision making of a process. To pursue, that means you want to convert somebody. For example, if you are seeking vote of a population, then you are telling them our party is good and you vote for us. Or if you are a marketing person, then you are telling that our product is good, buy this. Okay, this is called persuasion. And to build relationship, this is at personal level. It could be at family level, or it could be at social level, like a colleague or a partner or somebody else. Okay, some message that you send maybe at the goal of building good relationship, goodwill between you and the other person. It could, for example, Indian Prime Minister may send a message to Pakistani Prime Minister saying that let us be friends now on. Okay, that is called goodwill. For perfect and effective communication, this could be anything. For example, if you are a writer, then also you want to be very effective and perfective so that people don't confuse. So there are three goals for this one. One is to inform, one is to change a person or to impress upon him, or to build relationships. But now, like all other things, actually, there are things which actually make your communication um, not effective. So these are called barriers. Like, see one example: when you want to jump, it is the gravity which will be pulled down. So gravity is a barrier, so that we cannot reach space. We need to use different technology. For example, similarly, so these are the things which actually prevent you from achieving the successful communication. So what are they? Not interested in the conversation. Many a times you find actually there are thousands of people sitting in a gathering, but very few are interested in what a speaker is telling. Or this could happen in a classroom also, for whatever the reason. Jumping into conclusion. Many a times it happens with either colleague or classmates. Even before you are told the first sentence, they say they have understood that. So this is called jumping into conclusion. Many times this happens because either they are impatient, or they are bored out of you, or they are not interested in the topic. Inability to listen to others. Some people don't have this ability at all. They just don't want to listen to others. Lack of transparency and trust. It also depends, like if there are two people are known to each other, then one of them or both of them, they are not transparent. That means they are not disclosing anything and everything that has happened. Then they might not have earned that trust. That's exactly what happens between say, countries like India and Pakistan. We don't trust them; they don't trust us. And many times there is no transparency. Also, for example, they will be doing a lot of activities which are in the interest of their country but against us. Okay, so in that case, it's very difficult to have trust. And when they will lack trust and transparency, communication becomes difficult. Hence, it is called a barrier. Communication styles. Somebody may be good in using language, somebody good in sign. Okay. So if the recipient is not good in understanding the sign language, or a good not understanding in the vocabulary of that language, that will become a problem. Fear of offending the other person by expressing your opinion. Many a times, for in order to be very diplomatic, you may not be willing to tell your exact position on a particular thing. For example, can we bunk the class today? If somebody is asking, then you will be little hesitant because you don't want to hurt him. At the same time, you don't want to lose that friendship and all. Okay. Similarly, when a politician or somebody will come and ask you, will you vote for my party? You may not on the face may not express that. So that is also sometimes which actually block your communication. Cultural differences in language. This actually happens because if you are in a group of diverse people, somebody from North India, somebody from another country, and it is very difficult to understand the basis of communication, that will actually help. So that is also act as a lot of barrier. Barrier is something which prevents you from having successful communication. The last one is actually one feels not comfortable sharing your feelings with the other person. For whatever the reason, you may not like that person, or you may not like his attitude. Okay, that also hurts, especially with foes or let's say enemies. Exactly. We may not be trusting China, China may not be trusting Russia, Russia may not be trusting America and all. So these kind of things will create a lot of communication barriers. So what is a barrier? See, we know we want to be successful in communication, but there are certain natural things which will prevent us. One of them is lack of interest, jumping into conclusion, inability to listen, lack of transparency and trust, communication styles different. For example, somebody may use very flowery language, somebody may be very cryptic, somebody may be shout at you. All those things will actually prevent you from communicating. And apart from that, there are other barriers, psychological barriers. That means you don't like that person, you are not interested, or actually you are not in a good mood to listen to that. Physical barriers, maybe you are an audience where actually you are not able to hear him well, or the person who is speaking is not clearly speaking. Emotional barriers are something which actually out of emotion. That means you are either scared of that person, or you are too respecting him, or that kind of a thing. Attitudinal barriers, maybe you may not be interested to speak to or learn from a person who is junior to you. Okay, or you may not be interested to talk to a person who is from another country or another land. Okay, so these are called attitudinal barriers. Cultural barriers depends on the cultural reason. For example, you are exposed to a person who is from say Europe, then there may be a reason why you don't like them or you're not able to communicate with them. Language barriers, both your ability to understand somebody and your ability to express your ideas. Gender barriers, maybe you don't like or you have been brought up in such a situation that the other gender may not be worth listening or worth telling. Interpersonal barriers, these are depends on the personal relationship. For example, you may be somebody's classmate whom you like or may not like, that will also cause a lot of problem. So some of the barriers are language barriers, where one of them or both of them are not efficient in the language. For that reason, they are establishing a misunderstanding. Psychological barriers, physical barriers, attitudinal barriers, cultural barriers, and environmental barriers. So now that we know the barriers, how do we improve this? Because communication is an essential thing that you need to develop. Understanding is the key to communication. What do you understand? Understand the message, understand the language, understand the context, understand the person who is going to receive. Okay. Understanding the active listening. That means you should be very watchful when you listen to somebody. You should be looking at his body language, you should be looking at his expression, you should be looking at his emotions and all. So this is comes from active listening. See, for example, if somebody comes to talk to you, then you are watching on your mobile or you are sending a message and still listening. That is not called an active listening. Speak up about your thoughts and ideas. That means you should, if you want clarification, you provide that clarification. Or even if you think that you have clearly communicated, you ask for the feedback and do that. Try not to make assumptions. Don't think that other person knows what you already know, and based on that you are communicating. You have to make everything clear and practice self-awareness. That means you should understand your position, your mental state before you convey, because you will not be knowing what the other person is actually picking up from your communication. Don't be accusatory. That means you cannot start a dialogue or a communication with some kind of an accusation. Why did you come late? And there's a reason. If you talk like this, then probably he is into a defensive and he may not be fully willing to listen to you. Brief and clear. Many a times some people are very boring. A simple thing to convey. They use a lot of sentences, making round and round kind of a communication. That is not good. Eye contact, many a times, if you look at an eye of the other person, either sender or receiver, probably you will understand a much bigger context. So essentially, if you want to improve communication, be an active listener, hold effective meetings, explain the way behind the decision, why are you taking that decision, check in with employees, that means if you are a leader in law, and ask for the feedback. So any questions on communication? So what we have covered so far, actually I will tell you. Okay. Communication is part of a social setup, and this communication actually has a lot of impact on your life or health. Okay. So for that reason, building communication skills is an important thing. When we talk of building communication skill, it essentially means listening and speaking. Okay. Communication is essential. Okay. Communication has an intention of changing behavior and influence people. Okay. And the whole process consists of two elements. One is called sender and one is receiver. So you, if you are talking and if you are conveying something, then you are a sender. And if you are receiving somebody's message, then you are the receiver. Then there are certain skills which you need to master before you can have an effective communication. And these are the intended purposes of communication. And there are things which will actually prevent you from achieving a complete communication. And there are types of communication, barriers, and how to improve this communication. Okay. So now we will come to what we call relationships. So relationships are those we are established with the other person or other group. It could be a friendship, it could be a marriage, or it could be a partner, or it could be employment. Everything actually comes as a relationship. But one of those relationships is called friends and friendships in education. So probably you know that already you are 19 or 20 years, then you know what a friend is all about. But formally, a person with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically one exclusive of sexual and family relationship. So a family member is not called a friend, although people say that I look after my parents or my friends, they look at, that is not a right way to say do it. Okay. So it is somebody who have a mutual affection. It could be a classmate or it could be somebody in your neighborhood and all. Is also a person who has a strong liking for and trust in another person. That means you trust an uncle, or you trust a neighbor, you trust a teacher, or you trust your coach. That is a kind of a friendship. A friend is also a person who is not an enemy or friend. Okay, that means you don't have kind of a hatred with him. A person who helps or supports something, an unconditional relationship. There are no expectations which are very demanding on either side. So friendship is a kind of a relationship that you develop in the society. So over a period of time in your career, it is stated that there are 17 types of friends you will meet in your life. Okay, so there are many, and much of the relationships are all dyadic. That means dyadic is anything which has elements two. For example, you are there, another person is there. Friendship is a relationship of mutual affection between people. It is a stronger form of interpersonal bond than an acquaintance or an association. You see, there are at least 3,000 students in our campus. You cannot be friend to all of them. You may know them, maybe you meet them in the mess or in the hostel elsewhere, but they are all called acquaintances or association. You know them. You'll be there with 4 years. But there are friends. There are people who are your close friends where actually the relationship is much above and much beyond just the acquaintance. It's a dyadic relationship. That means it involves two people. And it's not obligatory. It may start on will and it may also end on will. So friendship is a kind of a social relationship. Okay. So what are the characteristic of relationship? It is typically egalitarian. That means all are equal. That means in friends at least, don't think that there is an upper hand and another one has a different kind of a following. Both are considered to be equal. It is almost always characterized by companionship and shared activities. Normally, friends have a common taste. For example, they go to the same film, or they like the same novelist, or they have the same interest in a particular sports and all. One of the primary goals and motivation of friendship is companionship. So, companionship is again a human requirement where actually you need a company of somebody. It could be a classmate, or it could be a neighbor, or it could be a colleague, or something like that. In addition, adolescent and adult friendships often perform other functions such as serving as a source of emotional support and providing opportunities. For example, a parent, children, it is in addition to kind of a relationship, it's also kind of a support that you will be getting. So, what are the qualities of a true friend? A faithful friend is a sure anchor. Anchor is somebody who supports you, will always be honest with you. That means whether he want to make a critical comment about you, he will be honest. He will not hide it. Or if you want to appreciate also, he will wholeheartedly do that. Loves you for yourself and you are unconditional. That means he will not expect some kind of a improvement in you. Then he says start loving you or liking you. He will accept you as you are. Gives you more than they take. That means he is more generous with you. Compromises. He will not put on insist on certain conditions. For example, you decide to go to a particular place and there is an objection then from another person. They don't mind actually mending that and go further. Okay. Forgives you even without an apology. Believes in you. Make time for you. Respectful to you and thoughtful. That means he will be considerate. You ask for something, he will not rudely say no or yes to that. Okay. Stick around you. That means everybody will go into different times in their life, then they will support. For example, maybe you know the great example of this Kohli. Kohli was not going on a good run for quite some time. For the last 3 years, he was not hitting a century and all, and that performance led into a lot of problems. In fact, he lost his captaincy, and it looks like, according to Kohli, Dhoni was the only person who actually supported him. He spoke to him in a very detailed manner. Almost all other things actually kind of a very superficial communication they had with. So there are different definitions regarding nature of friendship. Okay. So suggest that classical idea of friendship is friends must enjoy each other's company. Okay. They must be useful to one another. They must share a common commitment to good. That means it's not coming together is friendship. Working towards our common purpose is the friendship. Okay. Another definition says that according to this view, friendship becomes a special relationship between two equal individuals involved in a uniquely constituted gang. That means they have come together for some purpose. It could be life, or it could be a project, or it could be a kind of a goal. For example, two people can come together as a political friends because they have political things to achieve for their country. Okay. The third, definition is friendship is a relationship built upon the whole person and aims at psychological intimacy. That means they are physically and also psychologically together, which in this limited form makes it in practice a rare phenomenon, even though it may be more widely desired. Everybody wants a good friend, but it may not occur or it may not happen as frequently as people expect. It's a relationship based on freedom and is at the same time guaranteed of freedom. That means they don't cross each other's freedom. Somebody is friend, that doesn't mean that you have given up your freedom on the demands. That is not the way to do that. Now we'll come into our context, friendships in education. So they provide support and resource to each other, can encourage and discourage academic achievement. That means since they have come together as friends in an academic context, their support goes in and around academic activities, contribute to the positive sense of the mental well-being. Maybe they will support during the examination or preparation, studies and all. Encourage learning and develop interpersonal activities. Play a significant role in promoting overall health. Development of social skills, either communication, they may teach you another language, they may teach you another game. Better cooperation, maybe a part of project work and all. Better problem solving abilities, better communication and better academic outcomes. So friendship in the context of education has certain purposes, and this is what is listed here. And why do we need communication for a healthy relationship? Now we are, with this background, we are moving to the main topic of discourse, that is health, and why a good communication is needed. Okay, because it will help you get know each other. That means the more you better communicate with the other person, you will understand his desires, his goals, his background, his intentions, his purpose in life. Avoid misunderstanding. That means if even if you make certain assumptions about him or her or his motives and all, that will actually create a problem. So the communication will actually help you to overcome. Set clear expectations. Maybe you come together as a friends for a particular project or a particular goal. Now better communication will help you to set the goals. Okay, let us do this kind of a academic project. Let us do this kind of a competition. Okay, that will help you in that regard. How to improve communication in a relationship? Always talk about important and sensitive issues face to face. Don't talk on the back of that of a person and you just go head on. Okay. Be open and honest. Find the right time for important conversation. Don't be abusive, verbally aggressive, and even if it is an emotional issue. See, while important of communication is also stressed, the context matters. That means you should look at the mood and the spirit of that person before you start a conversation. That is exactly what is needed. And approach a conversation in each calm and relaxed way. Don't be tempted, don't be angry, don't lose your emotions. In a quiet environment where both parties are comfortable. Don't put somebody in a corner or a discomfortable position, force them through the conversation and all. Use positive body language. Do not communicate via text. Choose your language very carefully. WhatsApp messages, no, they many times bring relationship and also break them. So, what are the bad communication things? Okay, belittling other person, that means condemning him, you condemning him or shaming him for whatever the reason. Maybe he's not good as you are in academics, maybe he has not scored well like that, or maybe of a different size or of a different height. So, belittling or shaming the other person is not good. Openly giving the cold shoulder, that means just ignoring him in a particular context. Becoming defensive in heated discussions, that means arguing yourself and just defending your position. Assuming you know that what the other person is thinking, that means making assumptions. Arguments that are never resolved and brushed aside under the carpet. If there is an argument, you take it to the logical and convey the decision to them. Don't stop the argument in between and suffer both for yourself and the other person. Inability to compromise. Many times it so happens that you need to disagree, but that disagreement could be temporary or for a time being. So, but then you should acknowledge that you are disagreeing on a matter which will be resolved later. Few attempts to connect. Once something is broken, you should make an active attempt to get back to the relationship. So now that we have covered the bad examples, we will also give you some good examples of relationship. Give your partner, friend, or family a full attention. This is exactly what the challenge is today. So whenever you find people, they are involved in some kind of a digital media. I told you earlier, then you are talking to a person when you are still checking your message on WhatsApp. That is not a full attention giving. Or you are talking to when you are watching a TV or a match when your parents are talking to them. That is not a good thing. You have to give full attention. Giving each other person space needed. That means again you have to give the liberty, freedom to choose and do whatever that they want to do, which is important to them. Honesty and openness, 24-hour rule, never sleep on an argument. That means you don't close a day, you don't end a day with an argument so that the entire night is actually spent on thinking too many things about that argument. Talk about little things in the life. That means general things. Relationship for better or worsening life. Okay. So satisfying relationship not only to make us happy, they also influence our long-term health. This is where the topic comes. So why are we talking about communication relationship? They have a direct bearing on your health. Okay. If you are in a bad relationship, you have a friend which is actually either trying to dominate you or torture you, that has a very serious impact on your health. An unhealthy relationship will cause a lot of stress, okay, loneliness, and when people lose their friends, either because of accidents or because of their mistakes, for a period, actually, they are in a very mm, demoralized state, okay. So you can read yourself these things. But what it means is the quality of your relationship has a direct impact on your health. So now that we have understood what is communication, quality of communication, relation, then we'll get into the another three basic instincts. Human beings, like any other animals, are created by nature. And nature has put three kind of instinct in us. What are they? That I will cover you here. The first instinct is actually self-preserve. That means nature doesn't want any species to die. That means no matter what, how many tornadoes will come, how many earthquakes will happen, the living world actually continues and survives. That is called self-preserve. Look, have you? I think you have seen the film like Bahubali, where actually you have seen this Shivagami, right? Okay. So what this scene actually tells you that in spite of all this, the river which is uproaring, she is trying to save her kid. So this is a symbolic. That means every living person will try to preserve him against any accidents, any danger, or any incoming danger. So that means if there is a flood, he will run away from that. If there is an accident, he will try to survive. So this ability to survive is one of the fundamental thing. This actually scene actually captures that. Here she is trying to save her kid so that at least he will survive, although she will may drown in the water. And the next one is actually sexual instinct. See, you exist, but if you want to continue your generation or your species, nature has built in a procedure. Actually, you can give rise to your offspring. That means you can have children. Okay, they will continue to exist because nature want to continue. That is called sexual instinct. And social instinct, that means establishing relationship with other people. For example, you have friends, you have family, you have community. So these are the three fundamental qualities are the instinct. Self-preserve will say that you will try to survive against any odds. Okay. Sexual instinct will tell you that you want to continue your species. Humanities want to continue humans. Families want to continue their through their kids and all. Social instinct that you want to establish relationship. Okay. Self-preservance, you can read yourself. Very simple. Focused on enhancing and protecting personal safety and security and comfort. That means you want financial security, you want social security, you want security against nature, you want to security against dangerous animals, and all this will come. And you can read for yourself. Okay. Okay. And sexual instinct is actually, I told you, it is about actually having a perpetuation of a particular species. For example, humanity has been existing for tens of years. How does it continue? It continues children. And the basis of this children is actually reproduction. That is taken care by this particular instinct. And the social instinct is all about getting relationship with the others. For example, it could be friends, or it could be the family members, or it could be colleagues. And let me read for you. Social is focused on creating and maintaining relationship to build a sense of personal value, accomplishment, and community. You want to become a professional cricketer, so you want a recognition within that community, or you want to become a developer and do that. What are they? Interpersonal relationship, group participation. What are the characteristics? Healthy social types typically maintain many friendships, feel a strong sense of social responsibility. You are a colleague to somebody, you are a friend to somebody, you are a partner to somebody, you are actually a mentor to somebody, you are a student to somebody. These are different things. What are the weaknesses? Social type may develop into antisocial as against them. That means a particular community, inside they are good, but they may work against somebody else, like terrorists and all. They have developed communication, they have a relationship, but their motivation is something which goes against the wider this one. And final topic is actually how do we control somebody's behavior. There is something called social engineering. Social engineering is using social technologies to achieve a desired goal. For example, probably you know that when India was hit by corona and the vaccination was was discovered and they started inoculating people. It was the Prime Minister Modi who took the first dose of vaccination. The reason is not that he wanted very selfish and all, but doing that he created a confidence in the people that it is not risky to take a vaccination. So he led that. So a single picture showing the Prime Minister taking the vaccination created a confidence among the people, and they started taking it. So that is called social engineering. Look here, actually, here I will show an example. Probably you know this person, Ronaldo. Okay, and look at this. Okay. So in one of the events, what he did actually was, look at this. And you know, Ronaldo has more than 45 million people. This one. So in a press conference, he just removed the Coca-Cola bottle from his table and took water and say aqua. Okay. So that led to a kind of a problem where actually, the Coca-Cola market actually fell down by nearly couple of dollars. So what it means is, Ronaldo being a well-known international figure, a simple act actually made people to realize that Coca-Cola may not be a good option or good drink, good drink to choose. You can actually go for a healthy drink. So this kind of a thing is called social engineering. So examples of social engineering: wearing seat belts. So if you wear seat belts, your kids will also wear that, or other people also wear that. Banning the use of certain drugs. Okay, and both smoking and alcohol consumption are legally restricted to particular circumstances and age groups. So by doing certain things at technology level, and it's called social engineering, you can avoid or you make good example for the people. I think you can read for yourself. Take 2 minutes. Okay, so let me summarize. This chapter is all about social relationships and how does it actually impact on your health. So when we have social relationship, it's actually enabled by thing called language. So language leads to communication, and quality of communication is very important. And this communication is always intended to establish relationships, and that is also be taken care. So our social environment has a huge impact on our health status. Communication relationship have proven to be both essential and effective means for leading healthy life. Relationship, personal, social, and professional, have the telling effect on one's health and status. Okay, and this is the summary of third chapter. Hope I was clear enough to make you understand this. Okay. Uh, Thank you very much.